Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Nicole. I'm excited today to have Gloria Grady-Clay. She's an award-winning self-taught vegan cook and baker. Gloria, good to see you.
Hey, nice to see you as well, Nicole.
So glad to have you today. Let me tell folks more about you before we get into your life mission as a vegan and telling others about it. You are born and raised in Bennettsville, South Carolina, and you now live in Columbia with your husband. And you've made it your life mission, as I just mentioned, to share your love of vegan dishes with others in some really unique and fun ways. And I'm excited for the audience today to hear your story. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
This is going to be great. So let's talk about what it means to be a vegan. Explain that to folks who may not really be quite sure what it's all about.
Okay, a vegan is a person who does not eat any meat or dairy product, including eggs, butter, milk, or cheese. They stay away from that. That's what a vegan is. They do not eat any meat or any dairy products.
Some people might find that challenging to live a lifestyle like that, but you actually chose to be a vegan about 4.5 years ago. Tell me why you made that choice and how you say it's one of the best decisions you've ever made in your life.
Yeah, Nicole, about 4.5 years ago, I went to the doctor, my annual checkup, got on the scale, weighed 230 pounds, and I almost passed out. That's my heaviest I ever been in my entire life. And then on top of that, he checked my blood pressure and it was out the roof.
Oh,
so
God.
Yeah, so right then and there, he prescribed me blood pressure medicines, and I was like, I cannot live my life on blood pressure medicine. And the first thing he said was, you have to exercise and you have to get this weight off, Mrs. Clay. And at that time, I wasn't really thinking about losing weight, but I knew I had to lose weight. And so I did a lot of research about vegan. I was never a big meat eater, so that was like, okay, I think I can do this. So gradually, I stopped eating eggs, because eggs were my main thing. Egg cheese sandwich was my breakfast, faithfully, every morning.
Right.
But eggs started making me sick, so I just went vegan cold turkey overnight. Just stopped eating eggs, stopped eating drinking milk, cheese, all of that. So 4.5 years later, I'm totally off blood pressure medicine. I've lost 67 pounds. I no longer have gastrointestinal issues. My skin has cleared up, and I have extra energy. And plus, I exercise too, so that plays a major part in it. And now that I look back, I work on the stroke unit at the hospital, and I, was right there in that stroke zone with the high blood pressure, being overweight, and all of that. So I'm glad I had system enough to like, okay, Gloria, something has to be done. You have to stop this. No, you're not going to live to be 50 years old. So I went vegan and never looked back.
It's interesting. We hear people say all the time, the medical experts, you can do so much by changing simply what you eat when it comes to your health. Like you said, your blood pressure, your weight, but even your skin and your energy and how you feel about yourself. For
Right.
You're a true testimony that
Right.
changing a lot of what you eat made all the difference in the world, may have saved your life.
Right, and I think it has, because I was out of control with my eating habit. Without wasn't doing no exercise, wasn't doing anything, but just constantly feeding myself all that stuff that was not good for me.
Well, that's a great testimony, and I'm so glad you shared that with us. And that might be the inspiration that someone's wanting to hear right now about what can I do to feel better. Maybe this is the key for me.
Right.
But now a lot of people would say, oh, Gloria, I love my chicken. I love my steak. I don't think I could do that. How do you come up with substitutes to fill that void, or that replacement for someone who might not want to do that? And full disclosure, your husband is not a vegan. He still likes his meat.
Yeah,
that's his choice. But there are ways to come up with substitutes. Talk about that.
Right, Nicole. There has been a lot of companies now coming up with all kind of meat substitute. You have your vegan chicken, your vegan beef, your vegan the vegan, just vegan meat altogether.
Right.
We have Beyond Meat. We have corn, which is spelled Quorn. So people, I pronounce it, people think I'm saying corn, but it's pronounced it's pronounced that way, but it's spelled with the Q. But they have the best mock meat chicken in the world that I have tried. It's my personal favorite. And you can get it from any store, mainly like Kroger or one of the Whole Foods store, but it's like one of the best meat alternative that we have. And people might not know this in the viewing area, but we have a meat company in Asheville, North Carolina called No Evil's Food, and they make sausages and all kind of stuff, and it's really, really good. And I never knew they was in Asheville until like 3 years ago, and I read, you know, the back of the ingredients and stuff, and they had their location. I'm like, wow. The Carolina, yeah.
So those are the ways that you get the substitutes, but you have come up with so many creations, so many recipes when you decided to go meatless. Talk about how you were self-taught and some of the recipes that are award-winning.
Well, Nicole, the self-taught game was no-brainer. If you can figure out how to buy a plant-based butter or a plant-based milk to substitute, like in say mac and cheese, for instance. I get a lot of questions about how do you make a mac and cheese if you don't use egg, butter, or milk. Well,
or cheese. It's just we need some cheese. How do we do that?
Right. People are really shocked when, you know, you go to the store and you can find all these plant-based options. The plant-based butter, the plant-based cheeses, the plant-based milk, all of that. And you take your mama old recipe back in the day and just substitute all of that in there, and you have your mac and cheese without any animal product in it.
And you say it's good, and you say your husband actually helps you with your taste testing and your the entries when you're having these competitions. Tell me about that.
Yeah, my husband is not a vegan, but his taste bud has been on point when I'm entering contests and I give him the food and he sample it. And every contest I have won 4.
Tell me which ones those are real quick before you get to the rest. Oh.
I have won vegan ice cream down here in Columbia, South Carolina. I won vegan ice cream barbecue battle here in South Carolina. I won Lucky Leaf on Leaf online contest, and I just was a runner-up in Gold Whip contest back here 2 weeks ago. So yeah, and every recipe or entry has been off my husband's taste bud, and it has made me a winner every time.
Well, I like that. Sounds like you got a good guy because his taste buds are good. So what were the recipes that were award winning? Which ones did you enter for those?
Okay, for vegan ice cream smackdown, I made vegan collard green bake.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, I was not a chef. As a matter of fact, I was the only contestant that was not a chef. I had a restaurant or anything. I just went off my, you know, it was a bucket list thing. So I entered it, and I won, you know, first place, the best of the best.
I bet the chefs they were probably going, how did she win? She doesn't even have any education. It's all about the taste buds though, right?
That's right. And it was a blind taste test, and, you know, but all the contestant was very sweet to me, was very polite, congratulated me, shook my hand and everything. So that was really sweet, because I was up against some major restaurants from Charlotte, Georgia, here in Columbia. So yeah, it was really a game changer for me to say, I just want to knock it off my bucket list, so to speak.
Good for you. So you won a couple, you know, with your recipes there, 4 awards winning recipes. So what was the last one, the recipe that you just entered a couple weeks ago? Yeah,
Dole had an online contest, and they wanted you to recreate their Dole Whip dessert.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, now what can I do for this? I mean, Dole Whip is good by itself, so what can I add in it to make it my own? So I was like, okay, let me try a cheesecake. base. So I tried the tea cake base, and it took me 3 times to get the texture just right. So when I finally got it right, I let my husband taste it, and he said it tastes like he was eating a part of a cloud.
A part of a cloud. I love that. I love that.
So he said the texture was on point. So I'm like, okay, well, just let me go ahead and enter this. And I got a tweet from Dole saying I was a runner-up. So that was, the basis from that.
That's exciting. That's exciting. Well, I just love the fact that you have excitement about creating new recipes, and at the same time, it also makes you healthier. And and part of that is you like to educate. So you've done some demonstrations at the University of South Carolina, and you do some volunteer work at your place of work, your husband's place of work, and in other ways that you actually are giving back through your lifestyle. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. I'm all about trying to spread the word, because when people hear the word vegan, they just like, oh gosh, here we go.
Oh, not one of those again, right?
Not another crazy vegan, but I'm not like that. I do my outreach through cooking. Yeah. Cooking, I cook from my heart. I cook from my soul. And when I do that and pass it on to other folks and they like it, I feel like I have done my part. It makes my heart happy. So, all before COVID came in, I would do a monthly lunch for my job or my husband's job. And my husband's job is predominantly man. They have to have their meat and potatoes and all that like that.
That's right, yeah.
So I did a lunch for them. I think it was in March or February, and they killed it. I made mac and cheese, a cheesecake, and I did my award-winning vegan barbecue. And and they loved it. So I try to switch back between my job and his job, so people can know that that vegan food does not taste like cardboard, or that it's bland or pasty or just nasty. You have to add your flavor to it. And so that's how I've come to just like do this cooking for them. I don't charge anything. Everything comes out my pocket, which I don't mind, just as long as they are enjoying it and they ask questions about it. And so far, my husband's job wants to know when I'm going to do another luncheon for them already.
Yes, they do. But you know what? It's good that people understand there are so many ways to create food and it be good. It doesn't have just to be one way, because as you have said earlier to me, you were born and raised in the country. You were the original organic, home place, because your vegetables came straight from the garden, and there were no extra preservatives or additives. And I said, growing up for me, my grandmother made biscuits every day, but she made it with pure lard, and the ham and red eye gravy it was all pure. And then we went outside and we actually had activity. So there's difference today, is that we have so much added to our food. When you are a vegan, you actually take it back in many ways to its roots, to its original form, and that's what makes it so good.
Right. And just like with the cheese, I buy the store about vegan cheese, but you can also make cheese, the vegan cheese, out of potato, carrots, garlic, and onions, and it tastes just as same. And a pot is a lot more healthy because it doesn't have all the added preservatives and all that stuff in it. But yeah, I mean, you could take it back to Mother Earth, And
I love that. And I know your family in Bennettsville will be quite proud to know you haven't forgotten your roots and where you with the country cooking, right? I know my family feels the same way. So that's exciting. So, and you've also been featured in several magazines. I'm just going to read a few. Vegan Fitness and Health magazine. You've been featured in Vegan Lifestyle magazines, Australians, Inspiring Lives magazine, Raising Vegan Kids. So you're known worldwide, Gloria. I'm just honored you spending a few minutes with me, knowing you're known throughout the world. So what events or competitions do you have coming up?
Well, Nicole, like I said, before COVID came in, I was gonna do some veg fest, but now all the veg fest seems to be going towards 2021. So, but now if I see another online contest I want to enter, I would enter it. And if I win, I'll let you know.
Well, you must, because we put it out there and we will tell everyone. So what is your favorite vegan dish? Do you have a favorite?
Yes, I have a favorite, Nicole. Anything that have to deal with ramen noodles. I am a ramen noodle freak. Yeah, give me ramen noodles any day. I have them. I even make my own. I make, yeah, which are even better. But it takes a little time. But give me anything with a big ramen bowl filled with vegetable and a good mushroom broth.
Ooh.
I'm good to go.
Actually, that sounds very yummy, and I like ramen noodles too. So I bet that would be my favorite too. You'll have to share that recipe with me.
Right.
And what is the dish that gets the most positive feedback, you think, that you make?
Oh gosh, Nicole, it's three up in the wind. It's the cheesecake, the barbecue that I make, and the mac and cheese. Those are the three. But the cheesecake seems to be everybody requested dessert. Okay. Everybody the vegan cheesecake, because this, and like my husband says, it's very airy and cloudy. Like like you said, on a white cloud. People love to say. It is like one of the best desserts that I have gotten the most request, orders for.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I even got it on my I got the recipe out for those who want to use it or whatever. And it's easy.
So that was my next question. So how can people find your recipes?
All my recipes are online for free. They can go to My Country Vegan Kitchen Facebook page. That's where I upload all my recipes for free. Or they can go to my blog, www.mycountry, now it's spelled Kuntry, kitchen.com.
And I have that in the interview. All of that information too will be in that, so that people can click on that as soon as they finish watching this, so they can go and get all of your recipes and start making them at home. So you actually made a few today. Show me what you have with you.
Yeah. First of all, I made a chocolate cake.
That looks to die for.
People like to know what do you substitute for the eggs?
Tell me.
Applesauce.
Applesauce.
Banana. A mixture of baking soda and water. It gives it the moisture that it needs. But I found out with making this chocolate cake right here, hot coffee.
Hot coffee?
Hot coffee would take it to that more chocolatey flavor. Instead of it being like a normal chocolate, it actually enhanced the flavor of the cake and make it more divine. I mean, it's nice and moist and everything.
So, I wish you could send that. I wish I could eat that through. That looks yummy. And you know what? You're speaking my love language, because I love coffee. So when you said that, I'm thinking cake, coffee, and it's good for you, because applesauce, bananas, all that is very healthy. So you know what, Gloria? Full disclosure, I'm not a very good cook. It's a good thing I just talk for a living, and that's worked out well. Because if it was based off my cooking, I would be in bad trouble. But I think I need to try that recipe. So I'll grab that one personally and try it out on my family.
Yeah, and let me know how you like it too.
Oh, well, if they don't like it, it'll be because of me, not your recipe. Okay, you got two other things. Tell me what you got.
Yeah, I made a mac and cheese.
Oh, mac and cheese. So
nice. And I topped it with some vegan bacon.
I see that.
The added taste. And with this, only thing I used was the vegan butter, the vegan cheese, and some almond milk.
Almond milk. Now, I do like almond milk. I've actually made the switch with almond milk. Because a lot of dairy does cause some GI problems for people and face. A lot of people. So that's a good substitute for that. That looks good. And you've got one more item. What's your
this a little bit on the healthier side, because people are always asking me about healthier alternative, because I'm a junk food country girl cook.
Wait, let's say that again. Junk food, country girl cook,
That's right.
who's also vegan.
That's right.
What a combination.
I love using my oils and my flour and my butter. You know, I mean, that's Southern. That's what we do.
That's what we do.
So here I made a salad. And on top, I have some air fried spinach bites and some green peas.
Yes.
And then the other side, you have, you know, the little radishes and carrots. And it's sitting on top of a bed of mixed greens. And you can have it with any dressing, but it tastes good just the way it is. To me, it does. I'm not that's one thing about me. I'm not a added salt type person. Right. So I already have like a little saltness to it. I'm good with that. But I like to have me a good Italian dressing or vinaigrette just to go over it a little bit. But other than that, it's good.
Do you find, you know, I think sometimes we do load up our food with just too much stuff, especially salt, because we know that's not healthy for us to add a lot of that. What about those spices in general? I think, is that something that you have found is helpful, you know, the garlic, the natural spices and herbs to actually give good flavor that way, as opposed to, you know, the butter or whatever else, you know?
I have a herb garden, and I do the garlic and the parsley and all of that. And even when I'm making the mac and cheese, I add no salt in the water to cook the noodles, because the cheese itself has enough salt in it. Yeah. For my take. So I don't think you have to add all that salt. But yeah, the cinnamon and the ginger and the garlic and the onions, I mean, all that just has its own natural flavoring to it.
Yes. Yeah.
So I use a lot.
Don't you think sometimes maybe we've just gotten so used to having things, for a lack of better terms, so juiced up that we've actually not allowed ourselves to enjoy the true natural flavors of a lot of our vegetables, our fruits, and just regular herbs that you can grow in your garden?
I totally agree. We have gotten clear from that. You know, like I said, my mom grew the garden, so we had the fresh herbs and the onions and all of that, because that's how we grew up. She did not go to the store and buy seasoned salts and stuff like that. You know, she didn't do that because she already had, you know, stuff in the garden. So that's what I'm trying to, and I'm kind of lazy with it, so I'm trying to get back to that. You know, growing my own herbs, using that as far as the seasoning for my food. Now I do use Mrs. Dash. I like Mrs. Dash. Like I said, I'm not a big salt person, and I try to use it in foods for my husband, like when I'm seasoning up his food and stuff. So, but if I could just get back to that natural herb setting, I would think I would be okay.
Okay, first of all, there is nothing lazy about you, Gloria. So you should have never even put that in there. You are on task with just taking the world over in your area when it comes to vegan dishes. So I think we've covered just about all of the things that you're involved with. And you actually got the city of Columbia, the mayor, to have a proclamation to recognize Vegan Day. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it all started out on 2019. It's World Meat Out Day. Meat Out Day happens on March the 20th, which I think is like the first day of spring. So countries dedicate one day, 24 hours, to not eating meat. So I'm like, okay, now why can't South Carolina do that? I mean, it's only 24 hours. I mean, you can do without meat. So what happened was I emailed the mayor's office a request to have a meat out proclamation. And I didn't know whether or not they was going to do it or not. You know, I'm email him. He could say yeah, he could say no. So the next day I got an email stating which date did they want me to use for the Meat Out Day. And there we have it. The proclamation for Meat Out Day for Columbia is March 20th every year.
See, all you have to do is ask sometimes, and you shall receive. Good for you. Good little lesson there, right? If you believe in something, go ask, you know, take it to the next step. Well, it's been a real pleasure to talk with you and find out more about your mission, your love for being vegan, how it's helped you with your personal health, and then how it's inspired others and changing lives and the way that you give back. I think that's phenomenal. But I think you should share a little bit, and this is something we didn't talk about before, being from Bennettsville and growing up in the country. you know, what was that like, and any fond memories of that that you would like to share, especially when it relates to food?
Yeah. My dad was a hog farmer, so we had the ham, the ham hocks, the bacon, the fatback, the chitlins,
Backpack. Oh, backpack. Yes.
and the pork rinds. We had all of that because my daddy raised hogs, and I remember as a child, with my three siblings. I'm the oldest of three. You know how we would go help with that process.
Sure.
As a child, we helped our mom plant the garden. We helped harvested the garden and stuff like that. I mean, corn, cucumbers. My first job was cutting okra. That was my first job as a 12-year-old child. That's how I made my school money. But it has been a humbling experience. And back then, I wasn't a big meat eater, and I think it probably has a lot to do with why it was so easy for me to just like quit eating meat.
Right.
My mom would have this saying, I would have my beans, rice, and bread on my plate with a piece of pork chop, and it would be the last thing I would eat. And her saying would be, "It would eat you before you eat it." And I'm just like, oh my God. So I had to sit here and just eat it just because she said so. Yeah,
back then we didn't get to leave the table until we cleaned our plates, right?
Yeah, you didn't have that option to say you wasn't going to eat that. You did not have that option. Whatever my daddy killed, that's what we ate. Whatever my mom cooked and put on the plate, that's what we ate. And I'm a born Venice-Ville Southern girl, and I love my roots, and I will not change it for nothing in the world. Venice-Ville is my home, and it will always be my home, But yeah, very humbling experiences as a child with food growing up.
Well, you and I have a lot in common, because my first job at 12 years old was also working on some family farms in Roebuck, South Carolina, which is where I'm originally from. And so my job was to wash the squash and cucumbers. So we both have some similarities growing up on the farms. And of course, I grew up in the country, and my family, my grandmother and grandfather especially, had the garden. So there is something to be said about those experiences. They make who we are today. And here you are sharing your story about how you can make recipes really very tasty and yummy and cool by being vegan. So
right.
I know the next time that we talk, and we will have to talk again, promise me that.
I promise you, of course.
And we will talk more about some of the recipes and some of whatever you win after we get through this whole COVID-19 thing and you get back to the competitions. We'll have to have a follow-up. So thanks for joining me. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you for having me, Nicole. It has been a pleasure.
Very good. And folks, thank you for joining me today for this edition of Conversations with Nicole. Gloria and I hope you have a great day. We'll see you again next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.